right? And so everything that we're listening to, though, we know that it's being put in an either or context. And so my question, and I'll let you respond really however you like, but my question is, what am I not hearing? Again, if me not knowing what NIH is, I was, just saying, admittedly saying, I don't know what that is, but I'm hearing, oh, it's not being funded. And now all these people that are, at risk of cancer. And I know it can never be that extreme when I'm getting it from a political take. It can never be that extreme. Just your thoughts on that, Cut.
NIH, National Institutes of Health, has not lost its funding. So the entire premise is BS, okay? Are all departments in the federal government being looked at and disrupted? Yes, all, including the military. So I have deep empathy for the man. Someone is saying that I had cancer and I got drugs because of research that's done through the United States government supported. And kids today can't get the drugs. I mean, that is so far from the truth. That is not happening. And that's all I can say.
And again, I wanted a response because, again, that's what we're here for, right? Emil, your thoughts on that, Cut?
So what the administration has done is freeze funding to lots of the programs that the NIH runs. Let's go over the NIH real quick. The National Institutes of Health were started in 1887 at a Marine hospital in New York, and it's grown into the world's premier institute for research, biomedical research. Our spending $47 billion in fiscal 24 dwarfs almost everybody else's biomedical research, every other nation's biomedical research programs. And the results are very, very clear that money is being spent wisely in terms of the scientific results that come from the NIH. It's leading the world in so many different ways. There's a fear, and it's a reasonable fear, that freeze in funding will become permanent. Right? So the funding is set by Congress. We always say that Congress sets the funding for any program in the budget. So Congress has not cut the NIH. The president has frozen funds that go out from the NIH. And there's a difference because those funds still have to be spent because Congress passed a law that told the president to spend that money. So now we have to figure out what's going to happen between now and the end of fiscal 25 for the budget for the NIH since that funding has been frozen. Are they putting new restrictions and new requirements on the grants that they give out in order to do that research? Are they going to change the nature of the research? For instance, if you remember way back in 2017, President Biden, then Vice President Biden, was appointed the czar or the leader of the cancer moonshot. That went through primarily the NIH. There have been over 240 projects initiated under the cancer moonshot because of the NIH, through the NIH. There's tons of research for cancer that comes out of the NIH. So when we talk about this, no, the funding hasn't been cut because Congress hasn't changed the budget that they allocated or appropriated to the NIH, but that funding is frozen right now. And that frozen funding is affecting the research institutions that rely on that funding. Columbia University, for instance, has lost $400 million of federal funding. Is that going to be permanent? We don't know because, again, Congress has to decide what's going to be permanent in terms of law. But Columbia University is changing how it brings graduate students into its programs because of that funding change, that funding shift. And that's happening to institutions across the country. So yeah, people are concerned, and there should be. Is it as extreme as what we saw in that clip? Absolutely not. The research is still there, it's still ongoing, but is it going to change? Absolutely. And how? We're not sure because we haven't seen a plan come out of the administration other than stop funding this stuff. We'll have to see.
Got you. All right, great show today. I think in the sum up what I heard both of you say, just to close that clip out, if I'm hearing y'all correctly, and I'm learning from both of you in this situation, but when I hear the frozen funds, if you will, that was the tactic, the blunt force tactic that was used while Doge and his group, if you will, are evaluating what will stay and what. And so the fear, to your point, Emil, is that somehow that may remain. But the reality right now is, hey, here's our tactic while we look at things, and it's very possible that things will be evaluated and a lot of that funding will return. And at the end of the day, as you always keep saying, even the freezes are just something that's, in a sense, even a temporary power of the president, because the Congress has to ultimately decide what will and will not be funded. So when people are, to be fair to both of you, to say this funding has stopped, don't accept that propaganda as is, because of the process that, Emil, you always talk about. It ultimately has to be decided by Congress. So don't listen to these cuts as saying, hey, the president, in a sense, has unilateral authority to do what you're hearing in these cuts, because at the end, the Congress ultimately will decide. What he has done is froze a lot of stuff, and people are pinpointing the areas where it could hurt the most. And Emil, you're pointing out that even the freeze itself is actually having residual effects as we speak. That's what I think I heard both of you say.
You got it right from my side, that's for sure.
Yes, indeed.